computer, Tommy.
The EU's chief Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier, has reiterated the importance of striking a deal with the UK that stops the return of a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. The sovereign decision of the United Kingdom to leave the EU, and it was confirmed yesterday to leave the single market and also to leave the customs union, creates a lot of uncertainties, and often a great deal of uncertainty. For citizens and their rights. This is obviously the case on the issue of borders, and in particular for Ireland.
De la question des frontières, et en particulier de l'Irlande.
Keeping peace in Northern Ireland will be one of the Irish government's main conditions if it's to support a deal on Brexit.
We will need to tease through the detail of how we can create a unique solution in the context of Brexit for Northern Ireland, one that recognises and respects the Good Friday Agreement, one that protects the peace process which so many people have worked so hard to build, and one that maintains and supports the kind of normality on the island of Ireland between North and South.
Barnier met with his British counterpart David Davis on Monday for the first round of Brexit negotiations.
The state opening of Parliament in Britain, even though Prime Minister Theresa May is still negotiating a deal for a minority government. Queen Elizabeth outlined the policies the Conservatives want to focus on over the next parliamentary session. And of course, seeking a good Brexit deal was top of the list. The widest possible consensus, says the government.
My government's priority is to secure the best possible deal as the country leaves the European Union. My ministers are committed to working with Parliament, the devolved administrations, business and others to build the widest possible consensus on the country's future outside the European Union. Commercial satellites.
A plan to set up an anti-extremism commission was also announced as part of the fight against terrorism.
My government will continue to work. In the light of the terrorist attacks in Manchester and London, my government's counter-terrorism strategy will be reviewed to ensure that the police and security services have all the powers they need, and that the length of custodial sentences for terrorism-related offences are sufficient to keep the population safe.
But absent from the opening of Parliament was Prince Philip, the Queen's 96-year-old husband, who's been admitted to hospital for an infection. Reports that a firefighting plane crashed in Portugal while tackling the country's deadly forest fire have turned out to be false. Witnesses reported an explosion soon after a plane flew over, but it's thought that may have been gas supplies igniting. The massive effort to combat the flames has now entered its fifth day, with at least 65 people now known to have died and more than 150 injured.
Nous pensons que cette mission risque de se continuer à lavrar com muita intensidade muito próximo das populações.
The fire started on Saturday about 200 kilometres northeast of Lisbon, killing many people in their cars as they tried to flee the blaze. It's being described as Portugal's deadliest forest fire on record.
Saudi Arabia's king has appointed his son, Mohammed bin Salman, as crown prince, replacing his nephew, Mohammed bin Nayef, as first in line to the throne. King Salman's decree also means 31-year-old Prince Mohammed bin Salman will become deputy prime minister while continuing as defense minister. He's been responsible for organizing Riyadh's war with Yemen and dictating the country's energy policy. 57-year-old Mohammed bin Nayef has pledged allegiance to the new crown prince. Insiders say the 31-year-old 7-year-old's promotion confirms him as next ruler of the kingdom. The surprise announcement follows 2.5 years of major changes in Saudi Arabia, including the war in Yemen and major changes in energy policy.
Finnish police say they have foiled a terrorist attack targeting a church in Helsinki. The Tempeliokio Church, a popular tourist attraction in the heart of the city, built directly into a piece of stone, is less than a kilometre from the Finnish parliament and supposedly was a planned target for terrorists. The Finnish Security Intelligence Service has made an assessment that the threat of terrorism has increased. A 2015 assessment indicated a high risk of a single terror attack, and we have now elevated the general threat level. This means that we are now very well prepared. Helsinki police sent several units to patrol near the so-called Rock Church to try to apprehend a suspect in the area, although it remains unclear whether any arrests were made. The European heat wave shows no signs of abating as temperatures continue to soar across the continent. The time may be right for dancing in the street as the heat climbs above 30 degrees, but the summer sun is not for everyone. Some are struggling to cope with the unnaturally high temperatures as they seek refuge from the heat.
Are you struggling?
I'm struggling, but I'm enjoying it because in our country we don't get very much sun, so the more the better.
I'm from South Korea, so this weather is unusual in Korea, so I'm very, yes, I don't know how to handle this weather.
There have also been a number of reported drownings across the continent as revelers flock to the nearest body of water to cool off. The World Meteorological Organization has said that temperature records are being broken across Europe and that only 2016 saw higher global temperatures.
When we cross a threshold, which is defined by a local condition, then we call for heat wave. For example, Switzerland, the threshold of heat wave is 30 degrees centigrade. So when we cross that threshold, there is an issue of warning or advisory.
For now, the only relief from the sun is the shade and plenty of water. And with the heat forecast to continue through the rest of the week, everyone might as well sit back and enjoy the sunshine while it lasts.
The moment a device is detonated inside Brussels' central train station. Soldiers are on the scene at the station in the centre of the Belgian capital. Officials say they shot a man suspected of being a would-be suicide bomber. He was reportedly wearing a bomb belt and carrying a rucksack. The suspect was neutralized by soldiers on the scene, says a prosecutor. No one's been injured. We're treating this as a terrorist attack. We have no information on the suspect's identity. The station and the nearby Grand Place were evacuated.
Quand moi je suis redescendu pour rejoindre le quai,
I went down to the platforms, he says. There was a man yelling and shouting about jihadists. Then he shouted Allahu Akbar and he detonated the small suitcase he had with
la
him.
petite valise qu'il avait à côté de lui. Où là donc les gens ont pris la fuite, ils sont partis.
People were running. I went down to the platforms and
Et
raised
à
the
ce
alarm
moment-là,
to
moi je suis
evacuate the
redescendu
station.
sur le quai en donnant l'alerte à mes collègues de faire évacuer la gare.
The Belgian capital's been on high alert since a Brussels-based ISIL cell organised the attack that killed 130 people in Paris in November 2015. 4 months later, associates of those attackers killed 32 people in Brussels itself.
Ora nostra back e deporte con nostro collega Carl Ryder.